Are you Giordanos or Lumalnati's? I mean, obviously you're Professor Pizza, but
sure.
if you had to choose...
And listen, I'll say it to the camera, Giordanos. You know, we already get a bad rap for deep dish pizza. I do think you have gone the way of commerce. It's more than just a pizzeria or a brand. It's a representation of our city. And I do think you have taken a product that was probably incredible once upon a time and cut some corners. And that's tough to see because...
Well, all right. Battle raps cause I've shaken grown men to the point that they can't even face their own friends. That's why they rhyme about jewels, not life, cause the ice on which they skating is so...
Welcome back to the Party with Strategy podcast. Obviously not in the studio today, on site. Very special pod, very special guest. We got the Don of Dough, the Sauce Boss, the Cheese Whiz, Professor Pizza.
I appreciate that, man. Thanks for coming to my turf today.
Yeah, thanks for having us, bro.
Recording one of the loudest background noise podcasts you've ever recorded before, but here we are. We got to support the Bears-Packers game today at the pizzeria, so we're making it happen.
Yeah.
I appreciate you coming through.
We're out here. I'm excited, bro. I heard of you first. I'm from Chicago, but I lived in Houston for 3 years. I left in 2020. I came back a year ago, and I'm a huge comedy fan. Listen to all the comedy podcasts, all that shit. And I heard Tony Hinchcliffe talking about when he came to Chicago to do a show. He was like, dude, we had this crazy pizza that was catered in the green room by Professor Pizza. It's amazing, this and that. And naturally, I'm from Chicago. I was like, what's going on here? I don't know about this.
That was a special shout out on Rogan. If only he had remembered my name. But I'll take the best pizza chef in Chicago, which is what I was referred to. That was still pretty damn awesome.
Yeah.
Sitting next to Hulk Hogan, no less. So pretty dope.
Yeah,
but,
that's so tight.
Yeah, I've been at it for a while. Just naturally, like I'm sure you are, just a fan of stand-up comedy at large. Started with like friends in the local Chicago scene that are comics and just doing local shows for them, just as a natural means of being a part of the hang and getting in where you fit in, as I like to put it, by bringing some pizza through to the green room or to the show itself, right? So, like I said, started with local shows, and then before you know it, you got a friend opening up for somebody bigger at a bigger venue, and they're your door into that experience. And like anything else, the more you do, the easier it is to do more of them. And you know, we've done Tony Hinchcliffe, we've done Shane Gillis, we've done Bert Kreischer. This past weekend we did Sebastian Maniscalco 2 nights at the United Center.
Nice.
So it's been a thrill to share my passion with these guys and just to be a fan with a little bit of extra access.
That's sick.
Yeah.
That's so sick,
yeah.
bro. When did you get into stand-up? What was your introduction to stand-up comedy?
I mean, even just growing up, just watching, you know, we grew up, I feel like, in the golden era of like comedic movies. It seems like they're barely making those type of movies anymore, but even just growing up with funny movies, you know, I was always the kid, like, when the holiday season would roll around and we'd throw Home Alone on for the 100 millionth time. As soon as like the scene hits where you're going to get a big laugh, obviously I'm participating, but I'm also like cranking my neck back to look at my dad and everybody else that are like losing their minds laughing too. So I think I just always liked the energy of a room full of people laughing, whether it was comedy in the theaters, one at home with the family, and then, you know, getting into like middle school, high school, and then Comedy Central era of Premium Blend and, you know, 30-minute specials and things of that nature. And that's where I became aware of like the Carrot Tops of the world and the Sebastian Maniscalcos and Donnell Rawlings and so on and so forth, right? So just started with the same sort of access to stand-up comedy a lot of us had as kids. And then as I grew older and had friends in the city that were partaking as stand-ups in the local scene themselves, I started to go to those shows. One of those early shows for me that I'll always show love to is CYSK, Comedians You Should Know, which is based here in Chicago. Started maybe 13 or so years ago, maybe even longer at this point. They now have satellite versions of it in Brooklyn and in Los Angeles.
Dope.
And it's a showcase of 6 or so comics, usually local to that area, but sometimes they're bringing them in. And it's reliably some of the best stand-up comedy you can see here in the city. So started going to that show, and that blossomed to me going to other shows, right? And from there, I suppose the rest is history. But I've always loved the scene. The community's been super embracing to me over the years, even before I started bringing pizza to shows. And I just have fun with it, man. I tell myself this is the year, and I've been saying this for some years now, this is the year where I actually bite the bullet, conquer my fear, and do an open mic myself. So
I was gonna ask if you had ever tried it out.
we've gotten as far as a note in my phone with the jokes that I would like to try, or I'll step it back one step, not even jokes, but maybe premises, right?
Yeah.
That could maybe grow into jokes eventually.
Yeah.
So
Can we? Is it possible to read one off?
Oh
Are you
my
ready for
God.
that?
All right.
Are
Let's
you ready
do
for
it.
that?
You might have to
I
give
wanna-
me a second to scroll through. But
Yeah, I got you. I want to see what Professor Pizza's thinking
the
about.
mind
You know,
of-
I want to see what's going down
The
in your
mind of a
notes.
madman. All right, let's see.
Everyone's always scared to like have people see their camera roll or whatnot, but I feel like it's the Notes app that's like the real coveted. Like if you go through my notes, I'm getting arrested for sure, 100%.
I don't know if this is the first one I should. Okay. Shit. Let me read a few of these before I just go with the first one
Okay,
on the
yeah,
note. But
I did Kill Tony. I got picked.
you really come
Yeah.
on now.
Yeah, for real.
You're bearing the lead here.
This
That's
was
amazing.
This was before he went to the Comedy Mothership. It was at Vulcan, and I just bombed horrifically. Just
Listen,
bombed.
there's only one or two ways it can go, and that's one of them.
Yeah.
But all the respect to you for at least trying. Did he tear you to shreds in the interview?
Yeah, that was the best part. That was the best part.
Who was on the panel?
It was William Montgomery.
Oh, incredible.
Yeah.
Who I've made pizza for before, so
Yeah.
he's a dope guy. Let's see here. All right, here we go. This is one of the few that may not get me canceled. I used to act like I was above sports because I never really got into them. In my adult years, I'm realizing I missed out and can't relate or hold a conversation in a lot of these situations. People are getting emotionally attached to teams winning and losing, and I'm like, but guys, have you heard of chicken cutlets? I think you're hungry. Let's just all sit down and have a meal together.
Okay. Okay.
So maybe some legs there, but
Relatable for sure because I was never into sports either, and that's like the
it
most.
never resonated with me.
Yeah.
It really didn't. And I think as a youth, I had that mindset of like, not that I'm better at it, but like it's like that it was basic and that my interests were more elevated because I was into music or hip hop or dance or whatever the case may be. And like now I just realize like, hey, you're the outsider looking in. Like so many people find so much enjoyment out of this, and I wish I could hold my own in a conversation, but I'm starting to show slight interest in like UFC, boxing. Obviously, we're coming off a big weekend with Jake Paul and Tyson. But again, I think the real fights happen in the octagon. So
Yeah, I thought you were gonna say in the kitchen.
that too. I mean, listen, I think the kitchen was more dangerous than the Jake Paul Mike Tyson fight. They did a lot of hugging in that ring.
That
but
could definitely be true.
I hear you.
You mentioned music, and I wanted to get into that as well. I
For
want to see where your head's at. To me, you're a pizza guy. You love stand-up comedy. I got to imagine you're a hip-hop head. I got to imagine you're like a Nas, Tribe Called Quest,
all of that.
Pharoah Monch.
For sure. That was like a big part of my upbringing. Just classic hip hop. A lot of the people you just mentioned. I was one of those kids that like got the all-in-one DJ Gemini setup with the two turntables, the behind-the-ear headphones, the little computer speakers, the mixer, right?
The box set,
right?
Yeah.
$300, and you were off to the races.
Yeah.
And no, I mean, in those days I wanted to be like the next coming of Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five, right? So I was into all the old school stuff. You know, I wasn't DJing too many like old school hip hop block parties. It was more like bar and bat mitzvahs, weddings, birthday parties. But you know, I was bringing the rig, the records, the whole situation, and having a lot of fun with it.
So you have DJ experience. I didn't even know that.
I mean, a little bit, and I would say most of it has faded at this point. Like, I was in that era of Serato Scratch Live, and now everybody's showing up with a pair of headphones and a what's it called, USB port or whatever, USB stick. But it's cool to see how much it's evolved, and obviously like hip hop is still in that Serato lane, but like in those younger years, I was listening to like Dance Factory FM and starting to get into house and techno music, and like now I go to a lot of those shows and have a lot of friends like yourself that DJ in the local scene, and so I'll be at Prism, I'll be at Spy Bar, Smoke and Mirrors.
That's the spot,
yeah. Supporting the Branzino Boys and a few other acts throughout the city. Obviously,
Sick.
house calls and disconnect events as well. So yeah, I think we got a great scene. Obviously,
what was like
we
the last
birthplace of house music, right?
Oh yeah.
So
what was like the last most memorable show you went to in terms of like a bigger DJ coming in, Prism or
yeah. I guess it would have been. I've certainly been to cool shows since then, but if we're talking about in that particular lane and like big DJs, I didn't cater Arc this past year, but the year before that, I was there and had a chance to make John Summit pizza.
Sick.
And kind of chop it up with him a little. And I mean, I think he's certainly one of the best out there doing it right now. Not to mention
Chicago,
just a really
baby.
great guy.
Let's
and
go.
a Chicago cat, absolutely. So yeah, John Summit's incredible. I caught some of that Cascade show recently.
Chicago.
Who else? Boris at Radius. I always butcher his last name, so I'm not even going to try right now. But yeah, a lot of good shows.
Dope.
A lot of good shows.
Dope.
Yeah.
Are you what do you partake in at a show like that? Are you drinking? You like weed? Are you doing Molly?
Don't get me too canceled here,
Well, you
but
can't get canceled.
I have fun.
Yeah.
I have fun within I mean I don't want to say I go fully off the rails at those shows, but I do stuff that's not normally in my normal day-to-day rotation at those from time to time. We'll leave it at that, but I'll speak more openly about my day-to-day regimen, which, I'm a big proponent of hash. I smoke hash. I mean, a lot of people call it dabbing, and that's fine too, but I think it's important to talk less about how you're consuming it and more about what you're consuming. And hash is, thousands of years old, hashish, right? And some of the best hash in the world is being made these days. And
so wait, just not to interrupt you,
Absolutely,
but I want to catch up to speed here.
Yeah.
I love weed.
Sure.
And I'm 34 now. I smoked for the first time in my life at 28.
Okay.
So I'm late to the game.
For sure.
So
what's a consumption pattern for you? Not in terms of how much or whatever, but how do you get down? You rolling something up?
I love edibles.
Okay.
Definitely my favorite. But then there's always just I oscillate, right?
Sure.
I'll be into smoking, and then I'll be I'll get too high smoking one time. I'll be all right, I'm going to go back to the edibles.
Yeah.
I keep going back and forth, but
it's funny. I've had such a hard time over the years finding my sweet spot with edibles that I normally just shy away from them.
Okay.
Which I have such great access to them. I was going to say, one of the places that I go to that I'm a huge proponent of, and I just think is super central to the hash and glass community, not just here in Chicago, although they are OGs here in Chicago, but I would say nationwide is a place right down the street from here off Grand Avenue called Made Gallery. And Made Gallery is almost like what some of the finer cigar clubs are to cigars, but in this case to hash and heady glass, right?
Okay.
So it's a community of folks that are, really connoisseurs of great hashish, great flower, great glass, and it brings together an incredible community of people, and I'm lucky to be a part of it. So I have a lot of fun with it for sure.
what? So tell for someone like myself who doesn't really know anything other than like, oh, I smoke this and I get high and I like it. What is the difference between hash and flower?
I mean, certainly it's under that umbrella of concentrates, right? So it's concentrated THC, or not just THC, but the resinous material on top of the flower that's actually psychotropic, actually doing anything for you, right? So, I don't know if cutting out the middleman is the right way to put it, but like you're really you're experiencing the plant in the most productive way possible, right? And I think the flavors are more present in hash than they are in flower. Not to say that they aren't in flower, but I think they're just even truer in hash consumption. I think for years we kind of looked at hash or just weed in general as something that could really only be described in two ways. Is it sativa indica hybrid, or what is the THC content in it? And certainly some of those things are telling of certain characteristics, right? But if you go into Made Gallery, nobody's talking about THC content. Nobody's talking about, is this a sativa? Is this an indica? Is this a hybrid or an indica dominant sativa? No one's having really that conversation. The word that all of us come back to is terpenes, or terps for short. And that's the flavor profile, right? And, just as you would like a pizza, like, oh, if it looks good to you, if it smells good to you, if it tastes good to you, it's the right one for you.
This has all of that, and it's a little distracting because all I want to do is eat.
Well,
that.
you can dig in whenever you want, brother. This is this is a live action prop here for sure. So, but no, I think like if it speaks to you, it's right for you, right? Within the world of cannabis, I mean, crack might speak to you, but it may not be right for you, right?
It may feel good. It's like my mind's telling me no, but my body kind of situation. You
know? No, but I just really enjoy all the craftsmanship that goes into it, right? The craftsmanship in terms of like the glass that you're consuming it with, the bangers or the quartz attachments that you're actually heating up that is going to receive the dab itself. The jars that all of these different producers package their hash in, all the different pheno hunts, which are opportunities to experience the plant at like different stages of maturation. You can go so heady with it.
Yeah.
You can get so nerdy, so geeky with it. And so many people know way more than I do about it. But, the more I learn about it, the more intrigued and interested I find myself in it. So
yeah,
it's been a really cool community to be a part of.
It's dope. I was always scared of dabs because, like, I'm a pussy. I'll be honest with you. I'm a pussy. Anything I do, I start real light. I just dip my toes in.
No, but I think that's smart, right? And I think with dabbing, too, there's so many horror stories of people taking obnoxiously hot, large dabs of low-quality shit, right? And that's a recipe for disaster. That's a recipe for, thrashing out your lungs and just having an experience that you're not soon going to forget, and for all the wrong reasons, right? But it's something that's been so dialed in over time, and I just look back on like when I started smoking hash versus how I consume and interact with it today. It's worlds apart. And like the way in which I started, I would never consider returning to. And a lot of that's just like simple things, like we have thermometers now that determine like how hot the surface is that you're going to touch the hash to before you begin to inhale it, right?
So you're torching it with the
You're torching it with a specific type of torch, right? It's another thing that we did back in the days. We were using like welding torches, which are like totally insane. Not the right application for it, right? So now we're using a proper like cigar style. We should have. We literally should have. And don't even get me started on like producing our own, because That was in the era of BHO, butane extracted hash oil, and it was closer to a scene out of Breaking Bad than anything else, to be quite frank with you. But we've survived and we've refined, and we're far more demure about our hash intake these days. We keep it cutesy.
You slipped that in there. I like
absolutely. No, I mean, even just like hitting it with the thermometer and just determining, okay, I'm not taking this hit too hot where I'm going to thrash my lungs, or I'm not taking it too cold where I'm not really going to get the full effect or the full vapor production that I could be getting otherwise, right? So way more dialed in, way more enjoyable. If you ever want to try it out, you'd be in good hands.
I would take a dab with you for sure.
Absolutely.
I have tried it. My boys definitely peer pressured me into it after years. It takes a long time. I'm like a diamond of peer pressure. It takes a long time to make it happen.
I love that.
But I have tried it, and I do like it a lot. It's
cool.
Clean.
Yeah.
It's not like, obviously, if you get too high, you get too high. It doesn't matter what you're smoking.
Right.
But if you have, a nice hit, fire.
It's nice. It's nice.
It's just
I
like,
agree.
I don't even want to get into that world. It's just a whole nother world to get into.
I
you
feel
know
that
what I
way
mean?
about a few things, and as somebody who is in that world, I don't blame you. But it's like, for a while we talk about the DJ stuff. As I got out of DJing, I was still like an avid record collector, and so I started diving into hi-fi setups and like true stereo setups, and like got set up with something I'm pretty proud of now. But like, there was definitely a year of my life where I was just like, I need this device to make sure that my stereo is receiving clean power right now, and like that's a couple $100, and it's like, so many of these different hobbies can be such a slippery slope, financially speaking, that I so respect somebody being like, oh, I liked it, but I'm gonna be a spectator from afar.
Yeah, I'll get in there when it's available.
Absolutely.
But I can't be at the crib. I don't even have room to collect all this shit.
No, I
bro.
hear you, man. I hear you. That's awesome.
Now let me ask you this.
Sure.
How long have you been rocking the mustache with no gap? Like, you didn't shave it for an event or anything?
Yeah, man,
like,
that's a good question.
It is part of your logo.
And right now you got a decent amount of overgrowth on me, but I definitely rock the mustache by itself plenty as well. Man, dude, it's been probably like the better part of a decade now, which is crazy.
10 years.
I grew up with a father like who had one my entire life, and he's gone more goatee the last, I don't know, decade or so, but like he had just a straight mustache for the longest time, and so I guess I was like more around it, but not to say that you have to ease your way into a mustache.
I think it could be said.
But it's certainly part of that Italian lexicon of looks, if you will.
Yeah.
And it fit me. I feel like I'm a little bit baby-faced without it, right? So it's been the male makeup that I've sought after in life for the better part of a decade, I guess.
That's a heavy hat to wear. 10 years with the stash that's no.
Absolutely. Obviously you've got a nice beard to yourself. Have you ever rocked the stash solo?
I've gone stash, so I don't have hair anymore. I'm bald, and like, my facial hair is that for me. Sometimes I'll switch it up.
I feel like that's a good look, like the shaved head and the facial hair. Like,
yeah, I mean, I'd like to
Tom
have
Segura,
both. Yeah. I'd like to have both,
sure.
but I'll take what I got. I accept it. I'm not going to Turkey to get the transplants.
No, don't do it, dude.
But
lean into it.
I've definitely rocked the stash, and I don't know. You tell me what, like. There's definitely a particular type of woman that likes a mustache, and then there's a particular type of woman who hates the stash.
So it's polarizing,
Very
right? Like
polarizing.
and like either you're into it as a woman and you look forward to it, or like
forward to it.
Take that as you will. I've gotten this comment from men and women alike, but like, or it's like, oh look, it's Mario, it's Luigi, and it's like. It's like one of those things where it's like it stings a little, but like I've also turned myself into somewhat of a cartoon as Professor Pizza.
It's
so
your
like,
logo has
how
the stash.
How could I really be too upset by it, right? But yeah. some people lean into it and some people don't, but I've tried to embrace it over the years, you know?
Yeah. Are you single?
I am single these days. Yeah,
Nice.
absolutely. Yourself?
Nice. No.
Okay.
I'm not. For the
Locked
first
down.
time in a long time.
Oh, good for you.
Yeah. It
I
feels
love
good.
it. I
It
love
feels
it.
good.
Awesome.
This is my grown and sexy era. I
Okay,
spent the
good.
last 10 years being everything that you think a DJ like would be.
Yeah.
I bottomed it out.
I understand. You got to get that out of your system.
Yeah.
You got to get that out of your system.
Yeah.
Listen, happy to settle down. If there's any suitors out there that really ignite a spark within me, but
Yeah, I like that. What do you? All right,
Can't force it.
Let's take this opportunity to maybe put the feelers out there.
Oh,
What are you
man, all
looking
right.
for in a
What am
woman?
I looking for?
What's your ideal woman?
let's go with the non-vain stuff first, right? Like personality wise, I find myself to be a pretty driven individual, somebody that's like pretty wrapped up in my own career. And while I'd want to be with somebody who has time for me, like I don't want somebody who has all the time in the world for me, or who's living purely vicariously through me, right? I want somebody who I can champion whatever they're into just as much as they're going to be hopefully championing what I'm into. I don't know if you can put an ing at the end of champion, but I just tried to.
I think you're good. Yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, just somebody that's passionate, right?
Passion's
First and
big.
foremost, and their passions don't necessarily have to be the same as mine. I think that's fun if some of them overlap, right? But I think it's even more fun if some of them don't, and it's an opportunity for me to learn or be exposed to new things, and hopefully I'll have the opportunity to do the same for that person, right? And then physically, I'm into a lot of those Italian features. I think dark hair, a curvier woman, but if you can get me in personality, I think we're 95% there anyway. So yeah.
No, that's so true. Passion's huge. Just to have somebody, even if it's something that I think is dumb,
for sure.
if someone's passionate enough about it, I'm into that.
I can get behind it.
Yeah,
absolutely.
You love this, and
Yeah.
I can see how much you love it.
Just don't make me watch Game of Thrones. I can't do it, guys.
Bro, that my girlfriend did that to me.
I was with a girl that tried to do it with me too. I was really into her. It ultimately didn't end up working out, and I think the fact that I wasn't into it was a huge contributor. If you're watching this, you know exactly who you are, and I tried. I don't know what to say,
So I had that exact experience.
Yeah.
She loves Game of Thrones. She's reading fairy smut. She's big,
Very smart. I like that.
Yeah, all that. And she made me
It's like
watch
that
it.
lane, or what is it, Bridgerton or Bridgington? Or,
Bridgerton. Yeah, exactly. She even if I was drifting off on the couch, she would turn it off and be like, "I'm stopping it here. I'll put on My Housewives when we'll pick it up tomorrow where he left off." I am making this man watch this
That's
entire
amazing.
series, and she had passion for it, so that was good. But
and that show has nudity in it too, and
Bro.
it's still I'm not nothing. For me, it's just it doesn't resonate with me.
it doesn't resonate. The only way that I was able to finish it was because she was there, and any questions I had, if I feel left behind in something, I'm out. If
Yeah.
I'm in a yoga class and it's too hard for me and everyone's following
You're mentally
along,
gonna be drifting.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I'm falling behind and I
No,
don't
for sure.
I get mad. I'm like, fuck
I'm
this.
already not the guy for it, right? Because I'm not into really anything fantasy. Growing up, Star Wars or Lord of the Rings or whatever, just was never my thing.
Yep.
And almost like sports, these are things where you got a billion people into Star Wars or Game of Thrones or Lord of the Rings, and it's trust me, I'm the weirdo. I understand that everybody else likes this, but yeah, I couldn't fake it.
Yeah. She made it happen, and it was good.
Cool.
But the nudity is distracting, honestly. I'm trying to watch the show. They're speaking old English, different language. I
Right.
can't even barely pay attention. I can barely hang on, and there's titties everywhere.
Titties
now
everywhere.
I'm completely fucked.
Yeah.
Now you got nothing. I gotta go fucking.
For sure. But I feel that's a testament to how much I don't like it. It's just I'm a pretty big fan of titties, and still it's not enough to keep me in. So
Yeah,
I don't know.
I feel that.
but,
That's real
yeah.
shit right there. What's your favorite comedy special? if you have one.
Favorite
If you
comedy
could name
special.
one.
That's a really good question. Like growing up, I grew up with was it Killing Me Softly, Dave Chappelle?
Dave Chappelle, yep.
That's in the canon for sure. Another one from like childhood was Sweat the Small Things, Kevin James. Even like, because again, I was like making that transition from like watching these guys on TV. So like in that same list, like Ray, I don't remember the name of the special, but like Ray Romano had one, and like. I don't even know if I saw that special ever. This was in the era of comedy CDs, and we would play it in the car and just like lose ourselves over it. So those are like from childhood.
Yeah.
And then Shane Gillis's first special, Live in Austin, insane.
Banger.
It might have been Tambourine by Chris Rock. Is phenomenal. I really like Jeff Garland's first special. I think that was like Chicago Man or something like that.
Yeah.
Who else recently?
You don't have like one
Stavros Halkias's one that he did at
The
Live
Fat
at
Rascal.
the Lodge. Even before that, his like YouTube one.
Okay.
I love that. I got a chance to be in Sam Morrill's first Netflix special at the very end. That was a killer one, but there's a lot, man.
Yeah.
I just recently saw, this is not a comedy special, but I just recently saw Stavros Halkias' new movie in theaters, Let's Start a Cult.
Is it
super funny?
Yeah.
Super funny, like 80, 90-minute, slapstick comedy. Just really, really good shit.
That's great.
Yeah.
Very exciting news. Brand new sponsor for the show. Shouts to Long Drink. They see the vision. If you guys like what's going on here, you got to go buy some Long Drink. Thank you for watching. We'll be right back. Check this out. All right, party people, you know how it is. Late nights, great music, and that perfect vibe. And what's a better way to elevate the night than with a refreshing drink in your hand? I'm talking about the Finnish Long Drink. If you haven't heard of it yet, the Long Drink is not just any drink. It's a legendary Finnish favorite that's been around since the 1952 Summer Games. It's a deliciously refreshing blend of premium liquor, natural grapefruit flavor, and just the right amount of carbonation. It's smooth, crisp, and perfect for any occasion, whether you're chilling with friends, getting the weekend started, or just winding down after a set. And the best part? It's super convenient. No need to be a mixologist. Just crack the can and you've got a perfectly mixed, ready-to-drink cocktail. Whether you're into the classic, zero, or strong, there's a Long Drink for everyone. So next time you're tuning into the show or spinning your own beats, grab a Long Drink and take your night to the next level because good vibes deserve great drinks. Cheers to the perfect mix. Music and Long Drink. Let's go, champ. Let's get back to the show. Thank you guys for watching. Shouts to Long Drink. Make sure you go grab one. Peace. I feel better. Sorry. My bad. But between the pizza smell and the urge to urinate, I couldn't focus.
That's all right.
But we're back. Yeah. We were talking about comedy specials. Have you seen Louis C.K. 2017?
That was before the Madison Square Garden one?
Yeah.
I'm sure I did.
Yeah.
I'm lucky enough to say I've made Louis C.K. pizza before,
Sick.
and he was a dope guy to be around. I understand perspective is everything on that, but
I think he's back. I think he's, he served his time.
Yeah.
It's
I think perspective is everything on that comment too, but
he starts off with abortion, and then he talks about like suicide, and then he talks about religion, like how the Christians won. He's like, religion's cool, whatever,
dope.
but like the Christians won. It's that special.
Yeah, no, I've been lucky to see him live once. And then the time that I actually made him pizza was the screening of his 4th of July movie that he came out with Joe List. Bobby Kelly was in it and a handful of other comics. But, yeah, I mean, he's obviously one of the greats for sure.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So tight.
Yeah.
So tight that you made pizza for him. That's dope.
Yeah, that was a crazy experience. Definitely, like, I don't always get starstruck, but that's Louis C.K. Yeah, that was crazy.
Who's on your bucket list of people to feed?
Look, which camera should I look into?
That's your camera over there.
Tom Segura. I made pizza for your father. I made pizza for your mother. I made pizza for your 2 sisters. I would love to make you pizza one day. You, your wonderful life, Christina. I'm a huge YMH fan for years and years and years now. Big Mommy, Big Gene, in the house, keeping it high and tight at all times. Please, I would love to make you pizza someday. Let's make it happen, man.
That's so funny. Yeah. How did you serve everyone in his family except him?
I've served Bert pizza 4 times.
I saw that up there.
Once at Red Rocks. So like, I don't know, man. No. So his family, it was just like really just me hustling. Like his sister had for I don't know a while. I hope she comes back with it. It was a funny show, but she started this internet show called Maria Uncorked, and it's her drinking wine, making recipes in her home kitchen, and Tom promoted it in his Instagram story, and I was like, okay, let me check this out. I hit her up. I'm like, hey, I'm a world pizza champion, huge fan of your brother, and by nature of being a fan of his, kind of a fan of yours too, because she's kind of a reoccurring character in the larger Your Mom's House universe of characters. And I was like, look, I'd love to do an episode with you. I'll get a pizza oven down there. I'll get ingredients down there. We'll make pizza together. And she was super into the idea, and we made it happen. I flew down to Florida, where he's originally from, and we did a couple videos together. One on, I think, Neapolitan-style pizza, one on grandma-style pizza, and had a lot of fun with it. And his family was around and had a chance to make him some pizza.
That's tight.
Yeah.
That's super tight.
Absolutely. I'm going to ask you the same question in a similar way. Not make pizza, but if you could have a comic in my seat, who would that be?
I want to say Louis C.K. because he's my favorite, but I've also seen him on a bunch of pods, and like particularly Andrew Schultz pods.
Yeah.
Or pod. And like he just wasn't giving him anything.
Louis
was
like, you could tell when he wants to be there and when he doesn't. He did not want to be there then.
I was like, this would be the most terrifying thing ever if I was in his shoes,
I feel like if you're not already like decades long friends with him, you're starting in a deficit.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, he's killer. He's killer. That's awesome.
I would love. I mean, my favorite podcaster in the universe is Rick Glassman.
So I made Rick Glassman pizza before at the Den Theater. First off, his podcast is insane. It's amazing. It's called Tyso. Take Your Shoes Off. Right. And he's a great guy and killer stand up. But
is he as insane in real life? I mean, I know for sure he is.
No,
he's got to be like not insane, but just like a quirky.
He's quirky.
Yeah,
he's quirky. He's funny. But I think he's a little bit more relaxed than he is for the show. I mean, certainly like a lot of that OCD stuff and like super like hygienic cleanliness stuff. It comes from a real place, but I think he amps it up that much more, obviously, for the show.
Yeah.
But no, he was a great guy. He doesn't eat cheese, so I made him a cheeseless pizza, and he was into it. So
sick.
Yeah.
And then Andrew Santino, I saw on the wall. Obviously,
Santino's been really good
to
me. Bobby Lee's been really good to me. Like, it's so wild to like scroll through your phone sometimes and be like, I actually have these people's numbers, and like some of those people, like Santino or Bobby, if I text them, and I think part of it is I'm so careful to not overdo it, but if I text them, they get back to me, which is like. I got to pinch myself every time because I've been a fan of them for years from afar, and to know them on any personal level whatsoever is I guess a testament to me bringing up to some pretty decent things these days. So,
yeah, it's a testament to your work, you doing good work. Like,
no,
you know what I'm saying?
I appreciate that.
I was actually just having this conversation with my brother about like nowadays how I'm texting guys the way that I used to text girls when I was single.
With the same butterflies in your stomach, right?
Butterflies and cautiousness and like how do I say something
Delete,
that's going to make them laugh?
Like, okay, let's start over. Like,
yeah, like the same exact way you used to text a girl you were trying to get laid by is a lot of times how I'm talking to like other DJs or just like, you know, people that I'm friends with now that are like doing crazy shit that you're like, it's insane that I'm even talking to this guy. So like, I got to make every letter count. You know what I mean?
So my father's like always been the we call him the king of cliches, and one of his favorite ones has always been you get 2 cracks at a first impression, your first and your last. And I think when we're soliciting these people either to make pizza for them or to interview them on a podcast or whatever the case or angle may be, our first impression is all we have, and that's what they're going to judge us by. And we hope to leave a decent one. So yeah. I'm right there with you.
I'm out here flirting. I'm flirting with dudes.
Right. You got to shoot your shot. It's a numbers game.
Yeah, it's a different thing. Same skill set applied to a different
practice.
World.
Yeah. No, absolutely. But no, it's fun every time you get one, and I've got a wall of a lot of the ones that we've done over the years, but a lot more to post on that wall. And this, like I said, this past weekend with Sebastian was definitely a WOP bucket list item for me. And
can you say WOP? Is that?
I think I can.
Okay, right.
You know, but if you say it, I don't know. But
I'm
listen, with that pinky ring, I guess you can get away with it.
I got the track suit.
Exactly.
I got the pinky ring.
You came fully suited and booted today. Yeah. I got to check your pockets and make sure our silverware isn't in it before this guy leaves. But no, that one was cool. His dad was cool. His mom was cool. His family, the openers, Pete Corielli and Pat McGann, all stand-up guys, class acts, and it was just a thrill to be around them. Like, been to the United Center a million times as a kid for Bulls games and whatnot, and to be there backstage and experience the whole backstage like lifestyle is wild. It's
That's
wild.
so tight.
Even while I'm there working, it's so wild to kind of take it in.
Yeah,
so,
I'm sure. Now let me ask you this: as I'm gonna embarrass myself a little bit here, I think, but
go for it.
What grandma style pizza is like similar to Detroit, right? Or is that a different one?
I mean, in some respects, absolutely, right? So in front of us, it should be mentioned that this is a New York cheese. Just wanted to go right down the middle for the shot and, not knowing exactly what your pizza proclivities are, right? But you bring up grandma style, which is a style that I would say I'm most known for over the years, due in part to the fact that there was a time where that's all I really produced, right? But a grandma style, I always liken to a Sicilian style pizza, with the main differences being that a grandma is usually thinner and more crispy than a Sicilian pizza, and a true grandma, in my opinion, should be produced in a 12 by 12 steel pan, cut into 4 slices so that each slice is a corner slice, which is the most coveted slice among square or rectangular pan pizzas. Now, to answer your question, what's maybe the biggest difference between a Detroit-style pizza and a grandma-style pizza? With the Detroit-style pizza, you're packing the cheese on that pizza to the very edge so that it presses up against the pan. It drips down as it melts and begins to caramelize as the water and oil kind of render out of that cheese, leaving a super crispy, kind of cheesy fried edge we call frico in the case of a Detroit-style pizza. Now, in the case of a grandma-style pizza, we're not pushing that cheese all the way to the edge. We're leaving some of that dough or par-baked crust, in my case, exposed, so that when it comes out of the oven, you get a nice golden brown exposed crust. So texturally, totally different. I think they're both delicious. We're proud to serve both of them on the menu, but I think the grandma is a little bit more sessionable, whereas like the Detroit is very filling, very full-figured pie, and something that I recommend for like probably 3 or more people. You know?
That really cleared it up. I
For
mean,
sure.
when you were talking about that Detroit style cheese dripping on the crust,
yeah, we chisel it out of the pan with a super thin metal spatula, and it takes a lot of finesse to cook one of those, because if you undercook it, that fried cheese edge is going to collapse on you, and if you overcook it, it's going to come out burnt and kind of too toothsome to kind of bite through.
Yeah.
So it's a happy medium that you're trying to strike each time, and we do the best we can, pie by pie.
so Sicilian you mentioned, which is also
Yeah.
a square pizza, and then Detroit.
Rectangle in most
Yeah,
cases.
rectangle, sorry.
It's not like if it's square as opposed to rectangle, it's definitely not. But Sicilian, but definitely tends to be thicker than a grandma style. Now, our grandma style is probably thicker than most grandma styles coming out of the East Coast, right? But it's still in that realm of like grandma relative to the height and fluffiness of our Sicilian or other Sicilians, right?
Okay. So grandma style is an already existing thing. That's not like you didn't coin that term.
For sure did not coin that term.
I thought you did, because I had never seen grandma style before
I will take credit for being one of, if not the first pizzeria in Chicago serving the style.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly helped popularize it in this city. There's still not too many places that are doing it here in Chicago, but people really know us for it. But it's something you started to see in New York pizzerias around the 1980s. And before there was ever a name for it, this was really just Italian American mothers and grandmothers making pizza at home with whatever dough they could produce, probably in that moment, probably earlier that morning, as opposed to us, where we do a 24 or 48 hour cold ferment in the walk-in, right? In their case, it's like they had a thought that morning to put pizza on the dinner table that evening, and so you're getting a same day dough, right? It's a little bit harder to digest, a little heavier on the stomach, right? But not necessarily not delicious. Just more rustic in its approach, right?
Yeah.
I'm very particular on what olive oil I'm going to use. They might be using whatever fat they had left over from the roast or the dinner that they made earlier in the week. It's just a means of feeding your family, right? And yet they all had this kind of thin pan, shallow fry consistency, a lot of those like attributes in common. And I don't know the first person to take it and bring it into the pizzeria. There's a handful of different places that are going to take credit for it, but it's definitely something that you'd see in Long Island before it made its way to the rest of the boroughs and before it made its way to the rest of the country, right? King Umberto's in Long Island is certainly one of those first pizzerias. If not, if you're talking to them, they are the first, right? But they're definitely at the center of that conversation. So
Okay.
yeah.
Now, are you Giordano's or Lumalnati's? Obviously you're Professor Pizza, but
sure.
if you had to choose, it's the classic Chicago debate.
I would say, like, growing up, like, if Giordano's was around, somebody else was responsible for that. Like, it wasn't really our family that was doing that. And listen, I'll say it to the camera, Giordano's. Like, I do think you have gone the way of commerce. I do think you have taken a product that was probably incredible once upon a time and cut some corners. And that's tough to see because it's more than just a pizzeria or a brand. It's a representation of our city. And we already get a bad rap for deep dish pizza, and I think in a lot of cases it's unfair, but it is one of those things where it's like a lot of these places are not making the quality of product that they once were, and I think you can group them in that, even though they're not technically deep dish, they're technically stuffed, right? Because they have that extra layer of dough above the toppings, and they put the sauce on top of that, but it's kind of in that larger deep dish family, right? So I think, unfortunately, they're, a shadow of their former self, but there's still a lot of tradition around deep dish and stuffed pizza. I mean, growing up, it was going to be far more probably Gito's East and Lou Malnati's in that order. And then places like more local to the suburbs, like Bill's Pub, doing like double dough pizzas and cracker thin tavern style pizzas as well. So all of those are part of like my, youthful pizza lineage, I guess you'd say. Pequod's does a great job as well, but again, that's like not quite deep dish. That's Chicago cast iron, and like in Detroit, they run the cheese all the way to the edge of the pan and then chisel it out, so you get some of that frico, that fried cheese effect on the edge. But yeah, a lot of great classic Chicago pizzerias for sure.
Nice. All right, I got one more since you're a North Side guy.
Yeah.
Superdog or Gene and Jude's?
Superdog.
That's my boy.
So, the two different products, right? Superdog is really a classic Chicago dog. Totally run through the garden. You've got your relish, you've got your mustard, your pickle, your celery salt, your sport pepper, your tomato, your full Chicago, hot dog cannon is on display there. Gene and Jude's is technically a depression dog. That's like that is not like, oh, I'm depressed.
I know what you're saying.
But like depression era dog. And what do they put on there? Is there maybe mustard and sport peppers, maybe onions? I don't know. But way fewer toppings on that. Very soggy French fries kind of wrapped up in it. And I mean, again, that came from an era of just trying to feed people throughout their workday. So it wasn't supposed to be like this culinary delicacy. And in that respect, I think they did it. Because it's not a culinary delicacy. It's simply fine. Like, it's not disgusting. I like the snap on the dog. But I think it's just fine. I think it's an old school looking place, and there's definitely a lot of nostalgia surrounding it, but it's not anything I usually crave. But I've been to both plenty of times over the years. Superdog's pretty cool because my daughter's mother, you might be able to tell that we're not together, but my daughter's mother, her grandfather was an electrician. She's an electrician. Her father's an electrician. Her grandfather was an electrician. Her grandfather was responsible for putting those hot dogs on the roof. And that was kind of like his whole job, was to like make them light up and just function normally. But you'll be able to tell that, I don't know if it's one of the two or both of the hot dogs, the eyes on it blink. And that was like his little thing that he was like, I'm going to make them blink. No one asked him to do that, but he's like, I can do that, and I want it to be that way.
Yeah, that's tight.
So when you see that today, that is, I don't know his first name, but that's Mr. Corkill's design right there. So props to him and props to Superdog for sure.
That's tight. And I got to imagine, I mean, at the time, that was probably some super innovative, like, crazy thing to have up there.
Totally. Just even with the drive-in situation where people, I don't know, they're not on roller skates there, right?
No. I think they used to be, maybe.
So they walk it out to your car, and it's just a very unique ordering experience, and they make really good food. If you're looking for Chicago Greasy Spoon type hot dog spots, that should be in your list for sure.
All right. Now, here's a problem that I would love to hear your take on, and maybe even ask for you to fill the void. I'll do my best. Late night food in Chicago.
There's really a
in
dearth
the gutter
of it.
at the point.
Yeah.
At this point, like, I would say that Jim's was our last stronghold, and they're not even open late anymore. They close at like midnight, maybe 10 or something.
That's so crazy.
It's insane.
Did they used to be 24?
24 hours.
Yeah. I live in the intersection with the new one, which is definitely like even earlier than that. Like, they're not even trying over there.
Yeah.
But, man, it sucks. Like, so I don't know that this place will ever be that late night. Friday and Saturday we're rocking till 11:30, which for a sit-down place I think is pretty decent. But we do have our eyes and our hopes and dreams set on a by the slice operation as well. And I think just the nature of the size of it, the staff, the style of dining, the style of service will all lend to at least the opportunity of us growing into it being a late night establishment.
Yeah.
And I couldn't agree with you more, man. I think there's like so few options for it. And I'd love to be a part of that solution in whatever way I can, but not a lot of slices in this city, not a lot of late night food in this city, and
It's
even
ridiculous.
like it's another one that kind of went the way of the pandemic by not totally closing, but like scaling back hours. Is a Red Hot Ranch.
Yep.
You know, one of the best burgers in the city under $10, and they used to, I think, be 4 a.m. at least, and now they're midnight. So, sucks.
Yeah,
Sucks.
I'm just waiting. I'm waiting for that whole resurgence of 24. Like Walmart's not 24 anymore. Jewel's not 24
Yeah.
anymore. Nothing. And there's gonna be a point where some fucking board meeting's happening, and some guy's like, "Listen, we make it 24 hours.
I
That's
hope
our
so.
new thing."
I really, really hope so. You know, I think the economy was so affected by the pandemic that I feel like, well, certain things have snapped back. Like, you know, we're sitting here in a restaurant, thankfully, that we get to do things like this again. But certain things are just like, they've never really returned to what they were pre-pandemic. And I hope some of those late night hours in general start to resurface.
Me too. Are you
Yeah.
a late night goon?
I am,
You
dude.
strike
I'm
me as a late night
I'm
goon.
absolutely a late night goon to my own detriment.
Yeah,
you know,
same.
I would be way more productive and way more successful if that were not the case. But
That's
it's in my personality. I think it's a lot of creators and creative people's personality to really fire more so late night than early morning.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
like my whole thing is that like when Walmart was 24 hours or Jewel was 24 hours, I could at least use my late night time to knock a productive thing off my list. I could
sure.
go grocery shopping at 3 a.m. and like that's off
I'm
my
the guy
list
in
for
the
the next
grocery
day.
store at like 11:30, right? Because now they go to like midnight.
Yeah.
Not all of them, like Jewel will go to midnight.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm in there at that time. So I don't know. We'll see.
What do you have anything cooking that you could talk about, maybe like a new recipe or a style of pizza or anything that's in the works right now?
So we just started offering deep dish at our other location, our rooftop location, which is just carry out and delivery when the rooftop season comes to a close, and that's out of the West Loop. And that was born out of us initially having a collaboration last year with Gino's East, where we utilized their pans, their dough, and the oil that they stretched their dough into their pans out with. And then our end of the collaboration was that they were in their pizzeria and we were in our pizzeria producing deep dish pizzas with our combos on top, right? So our cheese, our sauce, our toppings. We were doing like a margarita, a deluxe pepperoni, a deluxe sausage and peppers. And it just kind of ignited this thrill in us to start working on our own deep dish pizza. And I've got a guy that's been working with me the last several years who's one of my head chefs, Mike Sundstrom. He goes by The Peacemaker, like a piece of pizza on Instagram, so shoot him a follow. But he's been diligently working on a deep dish dough of our very own, and we've got one that we're proud of that we've been quietly selling for the past month on the rooftop, or in the West Loop location, I should say, for carryout and delivery. And we're about to go live any day now with a post about it, but depending upon when this comes out, you might be hearing it here first.
Okay,
So,
nice.
Absolutely.
Now, what does it look like to be working on a deep dish dough of our own? Like, I'm
Yeah.
imagining you two are together. It's late night, probably. You're in the kitchen having fun, doing dabs, creating, like experimenting with pizza dough and tasting it and
No
shit.
dabs in the kitchen, guys. No
Like,
dabs in the kitchen.
That sounds like the best time of my life. Like, how do I get
can be a
an
lot of
invite
fun.
to a pizza experiment party?
I will say, like, those sort of like late night sessions are unfortunately more in the rearview mirror, just due to everybody's busy schedule. He's also holding down the West Loop location more so with his time, whereas my time is spent more so in this new spot. But he'll be working on something, and he'll bring something over for me to try, or I usually start my mornings in that location, so he'll have something for me to try over there, and he'll just get my feedback, and I'll let him know these are the things I would tweak with it. But, like, I'm no longer, like, spearheading all of these research and development efforts, and, like, I think if anything, that's a sign of our growth, because I'm not the only one who creatively has something to say in the brand at this point, and who has the know-how and the knowledge to actually like get behind that passion and show forth a product. So it's really cool to see him blossom in that way and him work on stuff totally independently from me, and for him to have pizzas on the menu that sell really well, like our mortadella and pistachio pesto is definitely a peacemaker creation. And I've always wanted to build this in such a way where it was not just a collection of my ideas, and certainly we've got more of my ideas at play than anybody else's right now because it is my concept, but it's morphing from my concept to our concept, and I couldn't be more proud of that reality. So it's cool to see everybody at play with it.
That's sick.
Yeah.
All right, I got one last question for you. If you can think of it,
sure.
What's one of your favorite songs right now?
Oh, one of my favorite songs
you're
right
getting
now?
in the whip and you're like, I'm putting this on. This is my shit right now.
This is probably my shit, like, more so 2 weeks ago, because I just, like, played it to death.
Yeah.
But pauses, collect the commas is, like...
Let's fucking go.
I mean, there's nothing... I'm, like, very much, like, tech house boy. Like, I like all that stuff. Pausa, Fisher, John Summit, it's another one, Fred again, like... Murderous.
I've been really fucking with
What's
like
it, John Hype? Is that or am I,
James Hype?
James Hype.
Yeah.
Killer.
I've been fucking with Sammy Virgil recently, which is like kind of UK garage-ish.
Okay.
Sick, bro.
You'll have to put me on.
So sick.
Send me a track or something.
Yeah,
but
I got you. But yeah, collect the comments is shit. Anything Pause is putting out right now is...
He's not missing.
Yeah, not at all.
Even the one he did before that with like the Nate Dogg samples in it.
Pick up the phone.
There's some good videos of me in the DJ booth at Smoke and Mirrors holding slices up to my ear like phones.
Yes, dude.
And Pause is just crushing the game right now. So for
Hell
sure.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Absolutely. I need to see one of your sets soon though.
Bro, whenever you want, you come through. We're partying. We're drinking. What do you drink?
Any that you're gonna plug right now in your own podcast we should know about?
They already know. Every Friday night, baby, the Late Show, Liquor Box. Let's go, champ.
Okay, so you got a residency at Liquor Box. Cool.
Yeah, every Friday.
I don't think I've been to Liquor Box yet, actually.
Listen, they have an unutilized kitchen, so
really,
I think that they could use your help.
Okay.
So maybe if you want to,
we'll sidebar about that for sure.
Yeah,
I like that idea.
Yeah, no, it's great over there. It's the best party in the city after 2 a.m. every Friday night.
That's West Loop?
No, it's
River...
it's River North. It's like on Orleans, just a little bit south of Chicago.
It takes a lot to get me to River North these days.
Yeah. Well, we're hopefully bringing it back. River North was a little dicey, but it's
I would say it's still pretty dicey.
There's a shimmer of hope at the end of the tunnel. There is a little light.
It's not that I have anything against it, except for the fact that, like, I get around the city with a car. As much as I hate driving and I wish I could just be in the back of an Uber, like, it doesn't go with my lifestyle. I'm constantly, like, going to and from, like, either pizza drop-off or, like, mobile pizza gig where I'm carting around ovens. I have 2 beautiful children. One of them still in a car seat. Like, I'm very much, like, dad in the van all throughout the city all the time. And one thing that River North does not lend to is parking your car at night without the like crushing fear internally of having to visit the impound lot in the middle of the night. So it just happened too many times to me, and it's it'll ruin a month for you.
Yeah, that's the most horrific feeling is walking back to your whip and it's not there.
It'll ruin
And
a
then
month for you.
You know where it is.
Yeah.
And you gotta call a taxi to get you there because Ubers don't even know what they're doing down in Lower Wacker.
Yeah, it's like, take me to Gotham.
Yeah.
Like, it's like horrific.
Yeah. Well, listen, anytime you need to park in River North, you call me. I will
Okay.
tell you where to park.
There you go.
I am.
Now he's earning that pinky ring, guy.
Listen,
I got a guy.
I am the most Jewish Jew you've ever
All
met
right.
when it
I
comes to
love it.
not paying for parking. I could tell you where to park for free in River North and not get towed.
Really?
Yeah.
I used to have this slick setup where I would park underneath the House of Blues and Harry Carey's.
Yeah.
I don't have that set up anymore, but it was like VIP for me.
I got you. I could tell you where to park where, you know, a lot of the spots are after 11 p.m. They're towing you right off Hubbard, bro. Literally,
Yeah.
the clock
forget
strikes 11.
Hubbard. Forget Hubbard.
Yeah. But I got you. I got
Yeah.
you. And also,
Amazing.
just to plug some other stuff, since you asked, I do like monthlies at Tao, John Boy, Bodega in the West Loop,
Okay.
Cashmere.
John Boy's sick looking.
It's awesome. Have you been?
Kind of not really. When I had a chance to walk through Taste of Randolph for a little this past summer, and it was the first time I was like, "Hey, what's this?" I remember back in the day when that was Fun Chinese, which I loved at the time, but that space just drew me in. I'm like, okay, this is super dope. So I need to go there properly at night.
I'll be there on Friday if you're feeling froggy.
All right.
Come through. I got a space.
I love
I got a
it.
spot for you in the booth. You drink tequila
Yeah, man.
right next to
Let's
the
do it.
bottle.
Do they do food there?
They do. They do a fun, like at midnight or throughout the night. They hand out. They have like their own little Happy Meals with the box and
Okay, dope.
burgers.
Dope.
They do I think Wednesdays is like
And
$2.
is it their kitchen or they're bringing people in?
No, they have a kitchen.
Okay.
They have a kitchen
Okay.
somewhere in there. I don't even
Okay,
know where it
for
is.
sure.
It's got to be in the basement
I
or
just love their
something.
DJ booth, like with the vintage TVs and everything. Like,
Dude,
it's
they-
absolutely a vibe in there.
Yeah, they crushed it.
Yeah.
The music is coherent with the rest of the place.
Yep.
The light up dance floor, disco
Kinda
balls,
70s,
70s,
yeah.
everything goes
Super
together. It's
All
such
right,
a fun
man.
party.
Dope. I'll be there.
Oh, let's go.
Awesome, man.
Friday night, baby.
Well, this is wonderful. Do we take a slice of pizza?
I will definitely take a slice
All
of
right.
pizza. We'll end it with that.
You got to give it a proper fold.
Okay.
Give it that architecture that a New
Okay.
York slice deserves and calls for. And
Cheers.
cheers, brother.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
If you guys are watching, make sure you subscribe to the YouTube, like the video, comment, drop a little something, algorithm activating activity. That's what we like to see here. We'll see you next time. Thank you, champ. Let's go.
Well, alright. Battle raps cause I've shaken grown men to the point that they can't even face their own friends. That's why they rhyme about jewels, not life, cause the ice on which they skating is so thin. That's what I love about the human soul. It'll usually show when the truth ain't told. Use a lie.